Well, good morning everybody. Well, my stupid dog barks like an absolute maddie. First off, there's nobody at the door, you fool. First off, on my Twitter account where I used to upload my other stuff, somebody called New in the Truth, I'd sort of recommended two songs to me to watch on YouTube. This is how this works. I'd never heard of Etta James singing I'd Rather Go Blind at live at the Montreux Jazz Festival. I recommend everybody goes and play this song. It's an absolute powerful performance. They also recommended Ryan Adams doing Come Pick Me Up, which I had seen before but I'd forgotten all about. So there you go, that's the way this works. And funny enough, Etta James, my cousin has a dog, a female lab, and it's named Etta after Etta James. I'm sure Etta James, if she knew that, would be quite pleased. I'm sure she's dead. Right, anyway, I'd spoken before about how certain songs, all of a sudden you've known they've been around for some few months or a few years, and then all of a sudden something happens and boom, that song has a completely different meaning because of a memory connected to hearing that song shortly after an event's happened, good or bad. The song I'm dealing with actually comes from this album called Breakfast in America. I actually thought Supertramp were actually all, when this first came out, I didn't buy it because I just thought the Supertramp were all Americans. I was trying to sort of get away from American bands and more like the ones that come out of British punk bands at the time, which is a shame because I wish I'd bought it, because only recently I went to see a guy called Roger Hodgson. He was the main songwriter of Supertramp, and he decided to leave them. It might have been after this album, I can't mind. He decided to leave them to go and pursue a, well, not so successful solo career, to be honest with you. And left the rest of Supertramp a little bit in the shit. And so I went to see him performing Supertramp songs and his own solo songs at the Royal Concert Hall, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, can't you mind. And I took my son there because I wanted to hear the Supertramp classics, to be honest with you. And he did a song there called Lord Is It Mine, and I thought, oh, that must be one of his solo tracks, and I never ever heard it ever again. And then a few years back, before I'd even bought this, I'd asked Alexa to play, well, I was doing some decorating. Funny enough, I'm always doing decorating. I asked Alexa to play the album Breakfast in America, and all of a sudden, oh, there's that song again, Lord Is It Mine. So I recommend that. What a song, Lord Is It Mine. Oh my god. So sadly I wish I'd actually bought this album years ago when it's first out, instead of just buying the Logical Song and Goodbye Stranger, which were released as singles. I bought those, but I never bought the album, which I regret, because then I could have had a greater connection to Lord Is It Mine than I do have now, which is quite a new thing when it should have been something which goes back to at least 1978. I'm not too sure when this album came out, to be honest with you. It was around about 78, 79 time. Yeah, I can't quite read it because I haven't got the glasses on. Anyway, so basically the song I'm going to talk about is a song I did by the time called The Logical Song. And my connection to this song, and this is, the Logical Song had been around for a wee bit, and I think I'd bought it at this point. And when I was growing up, there was a guy who's my mate called Stephen Burden, and he was my sort of childhood chum during infant school and junior school especially, because both me and him, compared to the rest of the laddies in our school or classes, we were both United fans, Manchester United fans, and they were mostly Liverpool and Everton fans, to be honest with you. And we both had a lot of common interest in music. He was the first person who actually played me Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. And I was the first person who got him to ELO as well. Maybe not such a good thing. But, and we grew up together, and even when he went to a different school than me when we turned 11, we still kept in contact. We went fishing together, and all those things that you do with your best mate. We went cycling trips, youth hosteling, all those things that you do. Used to play bloody Cluedo, Monopoly, and war games and stuff like that, and talked about the war because he was right into his war, going to go and see, World War II places, a place called RAF Sealand, which was just down the road to us, and we did everything together. It was great, and we did a lot of youth hostling together, and we were planning a youth hosteling trip, and where we'd cycle from youth hostel to youth hostel and then all the way back again. We'd already done it a couple of times, and he then decided to go to on a youth hostel trip with some people from his school, which I wasn't invited to because they were schoolmates, and then I was going to do one with him shortly afterwards. And he went to a place which we'd been to a couple of times, me and him, in a town in North Wales called Llangollen, which has this aqueduct next to it. It's like a feat of remarkable engineering. I think it was made by Thomas Telford, but don't quote me on that one. And him and his schoolmates went for a walk from the youth hostel, and they weren't cycling, they were walking. And Stephen walked a bit awkwardly. He had quite broad shoulders, unlike me, and he was the last person of these lads walking. I don't know if then maybe about 5 of them or 6 of them, I don't know. And what happened was that they was walking along the country lane where there was no pavement, and a van came round, and the wing mirror on the left hand side, the passenger side of the van, it hit Stephen straight in the head, and he went into a coma. And his brother phoned me up and told me the bad news, and I says, "Oh, I need to go up and see him." He says, "No, he's all connected with tubes. He just, you know, he won't respond to you. He's in a coma." And then shortly afterwards, the family were told he's brain dead. He's on life support. That's the only thing that's keeping him alive. And they had the horrible decision to turn off the life support for their own son, and it was an absolute tragedy because he was just 18, I think, at the time. It might have been 17, 18. This was 1978 to 1979. I'm not too sure when this was, and it was a tragedy. I've never forgotten all the things that we did together, and I never will forget him. And thereafterwards, I decided that I wanted to do the trip that we were planning to do together. But I took another lad who was a guy, who was a Jehovah's Witness guy in our Kingdom Hall called Dave Harvey. I said, I was planning this trip. We'd already booked the places. I said, "Do you want to come instead?" And the first place that we stopped in was the same youth hostel in Llangollen where Stephen had his last night. And this is just a few months later, and I walked in, and the week warden guy who books you in went up and says, "I booked here for the night," whatever. And I said, "My friend stayed here a few months back and he got killed." And he went, "Oh yes, it was tragic." He says, "We had his bike still here, and we had to arrange to get his bike back to his parents. It was tragic." And all of a sudden it felt odd to be in the last place that Stephen had been in before he'd sadly lost his life. And this particular youth hostel was quite a big youth hostel, and they had a big common room, and they did meals and kitchen, and they also had the jukebox. And as I walked into the jukebox, as I walked into the room, the jukebox, without anybody there, was playing the Logical song. And so all of a sudden this song, which had meant nothing to me at all, a song that I'd already bought the single and absolutely loved, all of a sudden every time I hear the opening bars of it, it takes me straight back to whenever that was, 78, 79, and being in this youth hostel, and then realising this is the last place that my mate had stayed in before he died. And it's just, years, and I can't separate that song from that memory anymore. It's like it's welded together, and I wish it wasn't. I wish I had this. Goodbye Stranger. I just love it as a song. Goodbye Stranger, purely as a great song. I've got nothing connected to Goodbye Stranger apart from loving it since I bought it when it was 78, 79, and loving it ever since. But then, of course, sadly, the logical song has this bad memory associated with it, and I wish it didn't, because it's a great song. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to put a link on it. I don't know which link, I haven't found a link for it yet. Maybe put a live version of it from which they did in France. I might put that one on. But anyway, if you haven't heard the logical song before, please play it. And if you haven't heard this, probably this live version of it, you know, listen to it, because literally Supertramp, when they had Rick and Roger singing together, writing together, they were a force to be reckoned with. And what a shame that that they can't sort of settle their differences and perform together again. I would love to see Supertramp with them, but hey ho. Anyway, that is another song from the soundtrack of my life. I'll see you another time. I'm off to have a coffee and go to the shops and buy dinner. Bye bye.